Hello everyone and welcome to Otaku Talk. Today I want to talk to you guys about a new anime that I just randomly decided to check out on Amazon Prime one day called Into Your Eternity. Now if this is your first time here or you're a reoccurring guest, please I implore you, like, share, subscribe, smash that bell button would mean the world to me, would help me out, would help me build my community. I don't really know what I'm planning on calling my community yet. A friend of mine suggested that I come up with a name. A bunch of YouTubers have a name for their followings, their community groups. So I originally had a separate channel that I wanted to do kind of a group otaku discussion on, and I thought it'd be a cool to use the same name. So I'm thinking maybe calling my fan base the League of Otaku or League of Extraordinary Otaku. So let me know in the comments if you like that, if that sounds cool to you. I think it sounds pretty cool. So, yeah, without much further ado, let's get into it. So, boom. Into Your Eternity was just, I stream on Twitch now under the moniker Niger Nightmare. Follow me there as well. And I was just trying to figure out if there was a way for me to, every blue moon live stream myself watching anime or reading manga and just, chilling, relaxing, and hanging out with my community. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like this is something that's going to be possible anytime soon. However, I did find out that because Twitch is owned by Amazon, you're allowed to have watch parties. And that would allow me to view the anime on Amazon Prime for free without, any DMCA violations or anything like that. So once I become a Twitch affiliate, that is something I look forward to doing. But anyway, like I said, I was just stumbling through Amazon Prime, wanted to see what selection of anime they have. And you guys would be very surprised. They do have quite the selection of anime, and cartoon series on there. Another series that I plan on doing a video about is Invincible, which is a series I've loved and read back in high school, so that's over a decade ago. But anyway, back to the point of this video. So, yeah, I'm not a simple dude. I see something, I read the description. If it touches me, if it moves me, I'll click on it. If it doesn't, it won't. Sometimes this has caused me to discover great series. Sometimes it's caused me to miss out on great series. Every anime fan is different. I want to make this point very clear. At the end of the day, anime is very subjective. There are some objective things you can talk about, like the art style and the story and blah, blah, blah. But overall, how an anime affects you, how you feel about it, that's all purely subjective. So if you have a favorite anime and someone else hates it, I get it. As a One Piece fan, I've grown up for years with people talking my favorite shonen manga of all time. I think that bar none, One Piece is the best to ever do it. It surpasses Dragon Ball Z, and just because of its world building and story alone. A lot of people don't like it because of the happy-go-lucky nature of it, and they're not able to see kind of the intangibles and under the surface level of what the series brings to light. I like to describe One Piece as that iceberg meme. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but there's an iceberg and you can only see part of it, but then you see under the water how huge that iceberg is. And I think with One Piece, you see the top of the iceberg and you see jokes, not that great animation or drawing, especially earlier on in the series, and a bunch of other things that you might think are beneath you in terms of anime. But when you actually get into the story and you actually get to see how well-versed and enormous and connected everything is, I don't see how you're anything else but impressed. But anyway, sorry for the segue. That's just to say, try out anime sometimes. Try different things. Get outside your comfort level. If you've never seen a sports anime, check one out. If you've never seen a slice of life anime, check it out. You still may not like it, but give yourself the chance to experience something new. Just give yourself that chance, and you never know. There's many anime and a manga that I watch, not thinking I would ever like, and all of a sudden it became my favorite. I typically, I'll tell you right now, one of my least favorite genres is slice of life. Not because they're bad, just because they're not my shtick. But there are phenomenal slice of lives that I love. Anyway, sorry. Back to the point at hand. Into Your Eternity. So I read the description, and basically it said that some immortal being is cast on Earth to just gain knowledge, right? And I was like, what? Huh? And then like there was some other stuff, but we'll get into that. So anime opens. There's an omniscient narrator, as it were, and basically he lets the audience, us, know that hey, I have this orb. I put it on Earth and I left it. That's all we're really given. I know that there might be some more lines here and there, but all we're told is that this orb. We're not told what it is, who the person talking is, if it's God. We're just gonna honestly, we're gonna assume it's God. But yeah, this dude just puts this orb on the planet and it just chills there. An unspecified amount of time goes by. You can assume, I personally am choosing to assume it's been thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years go by, and the orb turns into a rock. The reason it turns into a rock, I assume, is because it had been surrounded by rocks for so long. It learned about their inherent structure or whatever, and decided to assimilate with it to turn into it, right? So it turns into an identical rock of the rock that was, on top of it. Now, fast forward a little bit later, we see an injured white wolf. The injured white wolf is bleeding profusely, has a huge gash in its side, and kind of just dies on top of the rock, right? So this is where the story really starts to get interesting. So where like I said, where the wolf fell on top of the rock, all of a sudden you see this weird, trippy transformation. And you see like a wolf kind of clawing its way out of the wound. There's like I said, a big gash on the wolf, clawing its way out of the wound of the dead wolf. And then you see it emerge. At first, it's not in complete wolf form. It's kind of doing that if you've seen a lot of animes or cartoons where something is transformation, that mid-transformation sequence where everything's kind of bubbly and like disgusting looking. It was kind of that, which honestly I find really trippy. As much as disgusting as it was, I find something like that really trippy. But out from the wound of the dead wolf emerges an exact replica of that same dead wolf with the same exact wound. And it's actually really interesting because we find out that for whatever reason or whatever it is, that the orb is immortal and self-regenerating, right? So basically what happens is, even though he did replicate that wolf down to its exact wound, it's actually able to regenerate said wound. So the wolf continues, just walks into the snowy abyss. I forgot to mention that, but we're just surrounded by lots and lots of snow. Walks into the abyss, walks, runs into a little boy. Little boy seems like a really nice character. He's jovial, happy-go-lucky, but you can easily tell that there's a really depressing, dark backstory here. And something I wanted to mention at the beginning of this video is I get very heavy Made in the Abyss vibes from this anime. And for those of you that have never seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a really good series. I'm not going to go do a whole nother synopsis. I might just do a whole separate video on that in and of itself. But it's a very dark series that doesn't come across as dark until it's too late, until you're some episodes into it, and then you're like, what the fuck? I was not prepared for this. I did not anticipate this. I'm caught off guard. But there are certain animes that give off this really cool, trippy, dark vibe that I like. I'm not, you'll ask any of my friends, I hate scary movies. I'm not a fan of scary movies. I don't like being scared for the sake of being scared. I like plot. I like thrillers. Like, I can watch people get their head cut off, fingers cut off, and all that. As long as there's like some, plot to it. I don't want it to simply just be to scare me. Get it? So if anyone has seen Made in the Abyss, I highly think Into Your Eternity is for you. Um, so yeah, we meet this kid, and long story short, it appears he was abandoned. From the conversation he has, well, so it looks like the dead wolf was a friend of his, right? It probably got injured hunting or something of that nature. It was never truly made clear exactly what happened to the wolf. I'm kind of low key hoping that maybe it comes full circle and we find out, or maybe it's just not important to the story or the plot. What was important was the wolf getting to this boy, interacting with this boy. We find out that the boy used to, that where the boy is currently living used to be a small village of other people, and I guess because of the nature of the weather, like I said, they're in a snowy abyss. They decided it was better for them to go out and seek paradise. Now, obviously, I knew exactly what was happening. I know how adults work. I know how this world works. And in order to, it's hard to uproot and move yourself, right? But when you see that, hey, if we stay here, we're all going to die, it's necessary for us to leave. You have to do whatever you can do to motivate others to leave with you. So I'm assuming what happened was someone noticed, hey, we can't keep living like this. There's nothing around here. There's only a few of us. We have old people. All we can survive on is fish. And I'm sure there's a bunch of natural predators. And so they all decided to up and leave. So why is the boy still there, you might ask? Well, the reason is simple. He was injured at the time. From what I can tell, not only was he injured at the time, but he just seems to be kind of a thin, sickly, kind of feeble boy. I wouldn't say that he's super weak, but I can tell, he's not anything special. And so what the villagers told him was, hey, you're going to stay back here, hang out with all the old folks who are too old to travel. We're going to go ahead, find this paradise. We're going to come back for you. Now, let's say I'm not a pessimist. Let's say they had every intention of coming back, but, this journey was obviously long and arduous. They don't have any real clue where they're going. So, there's no way to truly know if they ever had any intention of ever coming back. But basically, we can assume that the boy has been here long enough to say, you know what, I'm not waiting anymore. Like I said earlier, he was left to stay with the elders of the village, and the only people we're introduced to when we get to this village is the boy. So I'm assuming that either shortly after or after a long time of staying with these elders, they died out, and he's been by himself. All he has is this wolf friend, and he's just ready to set out. So you see in this in his hut, he has all these dried meats or whatever, right? And so you find out really easily that he's been drying the meats to preserve them for this journey that they're going on. Also, slight side note, the wolf isn't used to being a wolf. It's not like he instantly gained the memories of the wolf that he took over. It's nothing like that at all. Literally and purely, he just took the shape of this being. He is like, it's like a baby wolf. Like, I was actually really initially scared for the kid because I was like, is the wolf going to be prone to violence? Is the wolf going to attack him? This isn't your friend wolf that died. This is a completely different being. And I was like I said, I really love the intrigue of this series because it can go anywhere, and I have no clue why. I'm not gonna say. I think it's way too early to say whether this series is good or not, but I am intrigued. Sometimes that's all it takes. Now, the measure of what makes an anime series good at the end of the day is if they're able to take that intrigue, if they're able to take all these things they set up and capitalize on it and stick the landing. So at this point, I am intrigued. I am thoroughly enjoying the series. However, I am waiting to see if it sticks the landing. So far, I'm in it. I'm going to be watching week to week, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing weekly episode reviews or I'll just wait for the whole thing to be over. That'll just take, I'll make that decision on a whim. So he feeds the wolf for the first time. The wolf has never experienced eating. Doesn't really know what food is confused. I'm actually really surprised because for a boy who's been friends with a wolf for a while, I don't know about you, but I feel like most people know their pets. Like I know, like parents at times, when their kid's pet dies, will replace the pet, and sometimes the kid will know. I don't know if this is a similar situation, but for him not to notice there's anything different about his companion, it is a little bit worrisome. But at the end of the day, he's an exact replica of the dead wolf, so maybe he just thinks his personality is off, but maybe he went through something. So the wolf eats the food for the first time. It's super weird. The boy has to show him how to do it. The reason I'm just kind of stressing that is I want you guys to understand that, like, this orb, it's not even a wolf. I'm calling it a wolf now, but the orb in and of itself, we don't know what its real purpose is. We're told by this narrator that it's just to gain knowledge, but I don't know. That seems too simple. That seems like there's way too much to it, and we don't know the end goal, and we don't know the limits and capabilities of this orb. What else can it turn into? Can it turn into multiple things? Can it revert? So he takes the wolf on this journey to whatever paradise that his villagers went to. And I am not joking with you. It is a long and arduous journey. They are just day in and day out walking and walking and walking, just trying to find where the villagers are. Luckily, we find that the previous pioneers left little rocks with markings. It's a giant stone and has like an arrow on it saying pretty much, you're going the right way, keep going this way. We finally, during the adventure, the kid's happy, but you do see as he progresses, his fingers start to turn pink. I'm not sure if it's signs of frostbite or something like that, or just overall he's getting sick. And then there's a point where the kid falls through ice and almost catches hypothermia. Luckily, like, the kid is very smart. He has food with him. He was able to build a hut, able to warm himself up, able to wrap up his fingers. But dude, as the journey is progressing, I am getting more and more concerned and worried about this kid. And I think it becomes very obvious to the audience that, hey, this kid's not going to make it. And hey, I don't think the villagers are alive anymore. And so we get to this point where he finally sees another stone, and where the arrow typically is, there's still an arrow, but it's crossed out with a red X. And all around the surrounding area, he can see a bunch of what looks like abandoned, deserted wagons and carts and that. So my theory is that they had similar issues. They traveled for long, probably ran out of food. Their cart started sinking through the ice or breaking down, and pretty much everyone died. Like, he gets happy because there's a bunch of stools like there were back at his place, and he's like, oh, they must be here. They must have made it. They must be nearby. But it's clear at this point the kid is lying to himself, that he's kind of given up hope. And long story short, it looks like he's getting more and more sick. And he decides to turn back and return to the starting point, which honestly hurt my heart. Part of me just wanted him to keep going because, at this point, there's nothing for you back there. There's nothing for you back there. You're just going to be alone. But, he made the decision. He turned back, went back to the village. And as you might have guessed, he ends up dying. The wolf walks up to him, starts, kind of like caressing him with his head. And then the wildest thing happens. Another transformation sequence takes place, and the wolf takes the form of the kid. Fucking trippy. Yeah, I don't even know. I kind of want to put a scene from when I just really love how the transformation looks. It does something that perturbs the soul, and I don't know why it does this, but it really like invokes a sense of like it invokes a feeling out of me that I don't want to say I enjoy, but I just like the fact that it makes me feel something that like it's trippy and whatnot. By the way, the music is phenomenal, very eerie, very trill, very smooth. So that was something very interesting about the series. Um, so yeah, now that the dog has taken the form of the boy, he just continues to walk. And something interesting that they touched on that I thought was super cool was, so the boy has no clue how to take care of himself. The orb doesn't know how to take care of himself. Doesn't really know how to talk, and so it's constantly dying. The boy, so whenever he transforms into something, he takes on the biological, genetic structure of whatever he transforms into. And so when he transforms into a boy, he takes on, the organs, the feelings, the nerves and synapses of a human boy. So a couple really interesting things happen. One, he pisses himself because one, he doesn't know how to use the restroom. They never touched on this as a wolf, but I'm assuming, it didn't matter. He doesn't have clothes on. He can piss and shit wherever, and it's not a big deal. So this boy was constantly pissing and shitting himself. So that was something very interesting. Also, I thought it was interesting that he was able to replicate the clothes as well. And I'm curious, if you put the clothes under a microscope, would they be regular clothes? Is the orb able to completely create matter? Once again, where do his abilities begin and where do they end? But the most interesting thing was he would constantly die of starvation. Now, once again, as we were told, the orb is immortal. So what would happen was every time he died of starvation, he would resurrect, he would regenerate. Something specifically, the narrator says that death for the orb was simply a change in the state of matter. So death to the orb isn't really death, it's just a change of form, change of matter that it can regenerate itself out of or retransform out of. So that was something I found super trippy. I really do have really high expectations of this series. And towards the end of this review, I want to get into what I think the potential of the series is. So yeah, as he's continuing, he's dying of starvation. He's dying from other threats, like probably like temperature, pneumonia. There's animals out there, so he's getting killed by animals, and just every time he's just regenerating and regenerating and regenerating. And then that's kind of where we leave off with him. Then we move on to this village, right? And there's this freaking adorably cute, adorably sweet girl. She has a lot of personality. She has a bunch of puppets near her. She calls them all her children. So we find out relatively early that this is kind of her thing. She takes care of these puppets as if they're her real children, and she's their mama. We find out something really sad, and that's that I'm going to say every year or so, a child that hasn't gone through, let's just call it puberty, who still has ink on their face, has to be sacrificed to some quote unquote god. And I'll skip all the stuff like that. It's her. She's picked, right? And so, she's freaking out because she wants to grow up one day to be a real mom. She wants to grow up to be an adult. And I don't know if she quite grasps what death is, but she knows it's enough to be feared. She knows she knows that it'll stop her from becoming a big girl. So as they're traveling, with the help of I like to call her older sister. I know they're not related, but her big sis. With the help of her big sis, she's able to escape. While she's escaping, she runs into the boy we meet, and the boy we meet, he's pretty. He's in the swamp. It looks like he fought some kind of monster and lost. His eyeball is sticking out, but as she sees this, all of a sudden he gets up and starts regenerating all his decayed body parts. His eye goes back in his head, and then just after he fully regenerates, he kind of just keeps it moving, keeps walking like nothing happened. The only people to see this at the time are the little girl and these two little soldiers that went after her to bring her back for the sacrifice, right? And so they flee immediately. And honestly, I'm with them. I agree with them. If I saw some shit like that, nope, I'm out. I am out. I am not today. Not today, Satan. Not today. The little girl being one, a naive little girl, and two, just honestly, it seems like she's pretty fearless overall. Honestly, it's really hard not to like this little girl. She seems like a really cool, incredible character. So, yeah, she meets the boy. She goes around with the boy. He's walking, and just she hears his stomach growl. At that point, she goes up in the trees and starts collecting fruit and starts giving him fruit instead of, once again, the boy has no knowledge of anything. He didn't, acquire the original boy's memories. So all he still remembers is what he was taught as a wolf by the boy, and so he's just instantly like diving on the ground, not eating with his hands, eating with his mouth, eating the fruit. And the little girl's having the great time of her life. Once again, she's a little girl. She doesn't understand what's going on. She just knows this kid is weird. She also kind of puts together that he's kind of infantile in nature. So she's like, "It's cool. I'll be your mama." But long story short, the people that were going to sacrifice her catch up to her, and she leaves. She leaves the kid for whatever reason. The boy decides to follow her. I'm assuming because of survival instinct that he's like, "Hey, she feeds me a lot," because like during the course of like their interaction together, it was just mainly her constantly just feeding him fruits because he was unable to do it himself. And so, oh, also something super creepy that happened was she was teaching him how to like talk, and she's like, delicious, or so, I forgot what the fuck she's using. Let's say delicious. So remember that she teaches him how to say delicious. He never says it. So they go to sacrifice her. She's tied to this stand, and this huge giant bear monster shows up. And when I say huge giant, I'm talking about probably the size of my house. Shows up, right? And so at the same time, the boy shows up. Now the women and the hunters that took the girl there don't really care. They're like, whatever, just lock them in there too. The big sister is there to save her. They don't really care. They're like, whatever, all of them can die for all we care. We did our job. Our job is to bring these people here to sacrifice them, and like that's that. However, while they're watching, the boy turns back into his wolf form. So that was really cool to see. We got basically confirmed that, okay, so anything he transforms into, he can revert back into. So now we know he probably can turn back into the Rock, which is honestly going to be useless. He can turn into a wolf. He can turn into a human. So that's really important. I'm very curious if he'll be able to turn into the bear. Because what happens, I'm getting ahead of myself. What happens is he turns into the wolf. He gets into this giant fight with the bear. Like, he's only as big as this bear's nose, and he's just clawing at it. He's biting its nose, and every time the bear is just, like, ripping off whole sections of his body. Like, there's one part where, like, the bear takes a swipe, and half the wolf's body is gone, but then it regenerates. And literally everyone is watching this. Everyone is watching this. The hunters. I'm not sure about the little girl. I think she's drugged, so I think she's passed out. But then the big sis is watching this, and they're just all awestruck. And so, long story short, the wolf wins. The bear isn't dead, but grievously wounded. And the creepiest thing you can ever imagine happens, and the orb in the form of a wolf goes like, delicious. And it's the most, it just, it made me cringe how like creepy it was, because like they intentionally make it so that it does really sound like unnatural, not of this world. And I love the fact that like they didn't let him do it as a human; they had him do it in wolf form. How that works, I have no clue. But like, you remember earlier how I said I was super intrigued and curious in the series? That curiosity and intrigue, it's just building and building and building. So the hunter, clearly realizing she's seen something tremendous, decides to instead of obviously sacrificing the girl, take them back to their village with them. We find out at this village that not only is the whole sacrificial thing a scam, it's just a way for them to weaken the other tribe, have them continually lose power in the form of their youth, and just kind of keep them obedient. Kind of like how back in the day religion was used in the same manner to, hold people down, stifle them, and control them. Though no one wants to take care of the grievously injured bear monster creature that they thought was a god, so the main hunter, the main female hunter that had kidnapped, well, not really kidnapped, but took the little girl to be sacrificed, has the little girl take care of the bear, and she's just, like I said, it's just a sweetheart. Reminds me of like Kid Goku, just children in anime have a tendency to be very pure, and she is clearly very pure and does her best to take care of the bear. Unfortunately, the bear dies, and like I said, I'm very, very interested to see if the orb can transform into the bear. There were some really weird things happening with the wolf where you see its body like flinching or reacting. Something really interesting the narrator says is that it has the when it's touched or when it's stimulated. There we go. When it's stimulated, it has the ability to transform. So I don't know exactly what that means. And from what I've seen, the only time it's ever transformed into something is after that thing has already died. I don't know if that means it can only transform into things when they die. What about inorganic things like the rock? That's neither dead or alive. It's inorganic. So yeah, I'm just very curious. I'm very, very, very curious about this series. I'm going to assume that there's going to come a point in time because, if he's able to talk, that means he's able to learn, right? If he's able to repeat things, I think there's a level of intelligence. I just think, there's nothing processed. Literally, like a super infant was created, a super being in the infantile form was created. And so I'm thinking that there's going to come a time. I'm only like 3 or 4 episodes in, not much has happened, but enough has happened to make me be like, I need to know what happens next. Maybe I'm hoping there'll be not a flashback, a flash forward, a time skip, and maybe the kid learns how to talk. We learn more about the character. I seriously want to know why the orb was left there, and if there is a being capable of creating and leaving an immortal orb just on the planet, how much stronger is whatever the being that put the orb there in the first place? Maybe is the being that put the orb there in the first place, is that how they kind of create? Like, was that being an orb himself and he had to go through this process? So many questions that I look forward to and I'm eagerly awaiting answers for. So yeah, my first impressions are great. Animation, phenomenal. Music, phenomenal. Story and plot, as of right now, good. This is one of those things, like, once again, there's different types of anime. This is one of those animes where its value is going to be how it ends or where it goes from here. Right now, it doesn't really have any outside of intrigue. Many shows, many movies, many anime try to bank off how intrigued can we keep our audience. An example off the top of my head that I'm going to actually bring up in another review is the show Lost. Lost was such a great show because it was shrouded in mystery. Everyone loved it. Everyone was super excited to figure out the mystery of this island. Is everyone dead? Is this a dream? What's happening? But then, you know what, for any of you that ever watched Lost, you know what ended up happening. The ending was lackluster. It was extremely disappointing. We were just left completely just like, this series is trash. Despite all the excitement and anticipation we had in the earlier iterations and the earlier seasons, as we progress through the series and as more and more of the story came to light, as more and more of the mysteries were solved, it lost what made it special because the payoff wasn't there. So as of right now, story and plot is decent, adequate. It's enough to keep me invested, but I want to see if they stick the landing. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Smash that bell. It will help me a lot. I'm really trying my best here. But yeah, what do you guys think? If you've seen Into the Eternity, do you guys feel the same way? How do you feel about my analysis of it? Are you excited about the future episodes? What are your theories about what's to come? What are your theories about the orb itself, its true purpose? What does it mean to gain knowledge about the person that left the orb there? Are there other orbs? Are there other potential like deity figures? So yeah, a lot of questions to be asked here. Anyway, this has been Otaku Talk. I'm your host, OD, signing out. Take care. Have a great day.